Welcome to Wisdom Trek with Gramps. I am Guthrie Chamberlain, and we are on day 2703 of our trek. The purpose of Wisdom Trek is to create a legacy of wisdom, to seek out discernment and insights, and to boldly grow where few have chosen to grow before. In today's Wisdom Nugget, it is titled The Conspiracy of Silence, When Nations Conspire, and it's a trek through Psalm 83, verses 1 through 8. Today we open a new and urgent chapter in our journey through the Psalms, and we're embarking on a trek of Psalm 83 from the New Living Translation, encompassing the opening verses of 1 through 8. Psalm 83 is another psalm of Asaph. It's a fervent communal lament and imprecatory prayer, a desperate cry for God's intervention against specific and imminent threat. After the divine judgment scene in Psalm 82, where God condemned the unjust divine rulers in the heavenly court, this psalm brings us back to earth. A very real and present danger, a grand conspiracy of nations with a single malevolent goal. The psalm is a powerful expression of people facing a severe existential threat. The psalmist pleads with God, the ultimate judge and ruler of the nations, not to remain silent in the face of this malicious plot. It reminds us that there are times when the threats are so great, so overwhelming, that the only hope is for a silent God to speak and a hidden God to act. So let's immerse ourselves in this prayer of national desperation and listen to the psalmist's earnest plea for God's intervention against this formidable conspiracy. The plea for a silent God to act, and we'll read verses 1 through 4. O God, do not remain silent. Do not turn a deaf ear. Do not stand aloof, O God. Don't you hear the uproar of your enemies? Don't you see the arrogance of those who hate you? They devise crafty schemes against your people, and they conspire against your treasured ones. Come, they say, let us wipe out Israel as a nation. We will destroy the memory of its existence. The psalm begins with an immediate, urgent, and almost confrontational plea for God to break the silence. O God, do not remain silent. Do not turn a deaf ear. Do not stand aloof, O God. This triple appeal highlights the profound distress of the people. God's silence in the face of a terrifying threat is unbearable. Remain silent, which is a Hebrew word karash, implies inactivity. Turn a deaf ear, the Hebrew al, implies a refusal to listen. Standing aloof, the Hebrew word shalak, suggests a deliberate distance and indifference to their suffering. The psalmist is begging God to do the opposite of all these things, to speak, to listen, and to draw near and intervene. The lament stands in a stark contrast to the divine pronouncement and judgment that we saw in Psalm 82, where God's voice was loud and clear. Here, that same mighty voice seems to be silent. The reason for the plea is escalating arrogance of the enemies. Don't you hear the uproar of your enemies? Don't you see the arrogance of those who hate you? This is a direct appeal to God's senses. It's a desperate attempt to grab his attention. Uproar, the Hebrew haman, suggests a loud, noisy, and chaotic clamor, likely a war cry or unified threatening sound. Arrogance, the Hebrew word sha'an, implies a proud and disdainful attitude, a boasting display of power. These enemies are not just hostile, they hate God. The psalmist is presenting the case to God. Your enemies are making a great racket and acting with profound disdain towards you. Surely you must hear and see this. The core of their plea is based on their enemies' sinister and malicious conspiracy. They devise crafty schemes against your people, and they conspire against your treasured ones. This is not an open, honest battle, but a secret, underhanded plot. Crafty schemes, a Hebrew sod, refers to a secret plan, a closed-door conspiracy. They have conspired together, the Hebrew word ya'atz, a correlation of nations united against a common foe. The target of this conspiracy is not just a nation, it's your people and your treasured one, Hebrew safan. The treasured ones is a term of endearment, signifying God's ownership and love for Israel, echoing the idea of them being God's special possession, found in Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 6. The psalmist is reminding God of his intimate relationship with Israel, arguing that the attack on them is an attack on him. The ultimate horrifying goal of this conspiracy is then revealed. Come, they say, let us wipe out Israel as a nation. We will destroy the memory of their existence. This is the chilling climax of their malicious plot. Their goal was not just conquest or even tribute, but total annihilation. Wipe out the nation of Israel, the Hebrew karath, means to completely cut off their national identity, their political structure, and even their very existence. The secondary goal was even more sinister. We will destroy the memory of their existence. This is an attempt at historical erasure, as if Israel never existed. This kind of conspiracy is the ultimate threat to the ancient Israelite people, whose identity is so intertwined with the covenant, their land, and their history. The psalm is giving voice to people facing a clear and present danger of being completely erased from the face of the earth. This opening section powerfully conveys the depths of the threat and the desperation of the psalmist's plea for God to break the silence and to act on behalf of his people. This next section is a correlation of malice and shared purpose in verses 5 through 8. Yes, they have a single purpose, to enter into a treaty against you. It is the tents of Edom and the Ishmaelites, of Moab and the Hagarites, of Gebal, Ammon, and Amalek, of Philistia, and the people of Tyre. Assyria has also joined them, and is the strongest ally of the descendants of Lot. The psalmist now confirms that it is not just a random collection of enemies, but a unified, deliberate conspiracy. Yes, they have a single purpose, to enter into a treaty against you. The phrase, a single purpose, the Hebrew labab echad, means with one heart. They are united in their malice. A treaty, which is berit, they have made not just against Israel, but against you, against God himself. This is a profound and direct accusation. The psalm argues that the enemy's hatred for Israel is inseparable from their hatred for God. The conspiracy is not just one of political matter, it's a theological one, a direct challenge to God's sovereignty. That is why God must act. The psalmist then provides a terrifying list of nations involved in the conspiracy. It is the tent of Edom and the Ishmaelites, of Moab and the Hagarites, of Gebal, Ammon, Amalek, of Philistia, and the people of Tyre. This list would have sent chills down the spine of any ancient Israelite. It's a comprehensive coalition of the traditional historical enemies. Edom and Moab and Ammon were neighboring peoples, descendants from Abraham and Lot, making their enmity the kind of family betrayal. The Ishmaelites and the Hagarites are nomadic people, often in conflict with Israel. Gebal was a city-state known for its naval power and influence. Amalek was a people with a long history of animosity toward Israel, going back to the ambush in the wilderness in Exodus 17, verse 8. Philistia is a powerful, long-standing enemy on the coast. Tyre was a Phoenician city-state known for its immense wealth and naval power. This list is a who's who of hostile surrounding nations, all united against Israel. It's a comprehensive geographical and political threat, a correlation so formidable that it would seem impossible for Israel to overcome it on its own. And to make matters worse, the psalmist adds a final terrifying name to that list, Assyria, who has also joined them, and is the strongest ally of the descendants of Lot. Assyria was the regional superpower, a brutal and feared empire, known for its military might and its policy of exile and subjugation. Their inclusion in this conspiracy would have sealed Israel's fate in any human calculation. Descendants of Lot refers to Moab and Ammon, underscoring the deep family betrayal and the formidable military support they received from the greatest power in the region. This list is not just for information, it's a profound, emotional argument for God. The psalmist is presenting a clear, detailed, and dire situation to the heavenly court. Look, O God, at the conspiracy. Look at the enemies. They are united in their hatred for you and your people. They are a coalition of the traditional foes, and even the world's superpower has joined them. There is no hope for us unless you act. This is a desperate appeal for God, the ultimate judge from Psalm 82, to rise up and pronounce a verdict against these earthly conspirators. Psalm 83 verses 1 through 8 is a powerful and heart-wrenching psalm and gives voice to people facing a clear and existential threat. It's a plea for a silent God to act, a profound lament over malicious conspiracies, and a reminder that when human foes conspire against God's people, their ultimate target is God himself. What profound wisdom can we draw from these opening verses in our Wisdom Trek today? Well, firstly, this psalm validates the experience of feeling threatened and overwhelmed by forces that seem to have a single purpose: to do us harm. It shows us that it is permissible to bring our fears and threats directly to God in prayer. Secondly, it reminds us that our primary appeal for God's intervention should be based on His honor and His cause. The conspiracy is not against us, but against you. When we're faced with threats, we can plead with God to act not just for our own sake, but for the glory of His name. Thirdly, the psalm highlights the danger of conspiracy and unified purpose rooted in malice and hatred. It stands as a warning against such plots and a reminder that their ultimate end is an affront to God. And finally, in a world where forces conspire against the faithful, this psalm provides hope. It reminds us that we are not alone. Our identity is rooted in being God's people and His treasured ones. And the God that we serve, the ultimate judge, hears the uproar of His enemies and will ultimately rise up to act. Let us learn from Asaph's plea, bringing our fears and the threats that we face to God, trusting that He will not remain silent forever, but will rise up and act on our behalf and the behalf of His name. Thank you for joining me on this profound trek through the opening verses of Psalm 83. I trust that this exploration of conspiracy, prayer, and God's intervention has resonated with your own journey. Join me again the next time as we continue to seek and apply the timeless truths of God's Word. Until then, keep moving forward, enjoy the journey, and create a great day every day. I am Guthrie Chamberlain, reminding you to live abundantly, love unconditionally, listen intentionally, learn continuously, lend to others generously, lead with integrity, and leave a living legacy each day. Please join us the next time for more daily wisdom.